Ukraine's foreign minister asks Germany for more military aid after Russian forces hit Kharkiv and advance in the east.
And a year after going on mute, the Golden Globes has returned to its glitzy Hollywood state, with the Fabelmans and the Banshees of Inisherin winning big.
Russian shelling hit Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv on Tuesday evening, just hours after the surprise visit of Germany's foreign minister Annalena Baerbock. She praised resistance in the city, while her Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba called for more military aid.
Kharkiv is a reflection of all the horror of this brutal war led by Russia, but also the courage, the capacity to resist, and the hope of Ukraine to live in peace.
Kuleba said the longer it takes to make the decision, the more people will die, because of the lack of necessary tanks in our army. Russia's Wagner mercenary group has claimed full control of the Ukrainian town of Soledar, which, if confirmed, would mark Moscow's first major battlefield success since last summer. Ukraine's president is calling for more equipment and fast. The free world has everything necessary to stop Russian aggression, Zelensky said, and bring the terrorist state to a historic defeat. And it's important not only for us, it's important for global democracy, for all those who value freedom. It's even more important now when Russia is gathering forces for another escalation. Zelensky also revealed that he has revoked Ukrainian citizenship of 4 political figures, including Viktor Medvedchuk, once seen as Russian leader Vladimir Putin's top ally in Kiev. Lithuania has launched an information campaign to better prepare its citizens for emergency situations. Concert halls and dance studios at this art school in Vilnius are usually brimming with students. But in the event of an emergency, these halls will transform into shelters.
As a building of collective safety, we can receive about 2,000 people for the short term. As a building of serious protection or shelter, we can receive around 180 to 200 people.
But preparing shelters is not enough to keep people safe. Just half of Lithuanians say they would know how to react in emergency situations. The country's interior ministry says the data is worrying.
Half of Lithuania's residents know how to behave in case of emergency situations. But if we go deeper, only 9% of residents know exactly how to behave, while 41% think that they know.
A survey commissioned by the government shows that only 18% of residents possess an emergency bag, and only 15% have discussed their family's disaster plan with their relatives. According to the Interior Minister, civil safety has been neglected, while threats to the country have increased.
The COVID-19 pandemic, illegal migration, Russia's war against Ukraine, the unpredictability of our neighbour Belarus and the Astrovets nuclear power plant near Vilnius. These are the challenges we have faced, one after the other.
In response, the ministry has modernised the website, warning systems and looked to better signpost emergency shelters. Lithuania is keeping a close eye on possible threats posed by the Astrovets nuclear plant in nearby Belarus, a close ally of Russia.
The leaders of the US, Canada and Mexico have wrapped up their North American summit, downplaying their frustrations with one another on migration and trade. Offering a united front, President Joe Biden boasted about his new migration policy.
We're working together to address this challenge in a way that upholds our nation's laws and protects the human rights of migrants facing desperate circumstances. We're also working together to take on the scourge of human smuggling and illegal drug trafficking.
Tensions were front and centre when Biden met his Mexican counterpart on Monday, who complained of abandonment and disdain for Latin America. The next day, López Obrador announced the trio's revised plans to boost trade.
We've agreed on strengthening our economic trade and commercial relations, and for that we're going to be creating a joint committee aimed at planning and substituting imports in North America, so that we might try to be increasingly self-sufficient.
Pledging to promote prosperity for people throughout the hemisphere, the conference ended with an optimistic outlook.
To put it simply, we are, and always will be, stronger together.
Cardinal George Pell, whose conviction on child abuse charges shocked the Catholic Church, has died aged 81. The former Vatican treasurer was Australia's highest-ranking Catholic cleric and the most senior church figure ever jailed for such offences. A jury in 2018 found he'd abused 2 boys while Archbishop of Melbourne in the 1990s. Cardinal Pell, who always maintained his innocence, spent 13 months in prison before the High Court of Australia quashed the verdict in 2020.
51 Cuban medical specialists have arrived in Italy to compensate for staff shortages in public hospitals. Over the years, spending cuts in public health have slowed down the recruitment of new doctors in all Italian regions, especially those facing the biggest health system challenges, like Calabria, in the south of Italy.
The employment of Cuban doctors is not a structural solution. Open calls for physicians is the structural solution, and we're doing that. It's an emergency solution because I must have, in my toolbox, all the tools to prevent the closure of hospitals.
Cuban doctors are renowned worldwide for their competence and professionalism, but it's the human aspect of the role which drives these cardiologists.
It's a new experience. I will get to know a different culture and I will help people in need, which is the goal of our profession, helping people who need our help the most.
We are a group of physicians from different specializations, and we came here to offer our small contribution to work alongside physicians from Calabria.
Shortly, the first Cuban doctors will start working in various Calabrian hospitals. Meanwhile, they're attending a course in Italian to improve their communication skills with their local colleagues and the Italian patients, a necessary step in order to allow these specialists to make an important contribution to the public health system in this region.
The doctors are studying Italian at the University of Calabria in Cosenza. They're the first of a group of almost 500 Cuban physicians who will work in Calabrian hospitals for at least 1 year. Many have families waiting for them at home, but this doesn't seem to be a problem for them.
My family knows the selfless and humanitarian education of Cuban doctors and understands the will of our people to give medical help to those countries, whether developed or underdeveloped, who need it.
A life saved in one of those hospitals that I should have closed is worth more than 1,000 debates, even though this life has been saved by a very good Cuban doctor rather than by an Italian doctor.
Helping save lives, a mission that Cuban doctors have been carrying out for many years in all corners of the world, and now here in Europe.
Mr. Spielberg, step right up here. We have the Fableman!
The American director's autobiographical tale has claimed one of the top prizes at the Golden Globes, which returned to screens around the world after years of ethical, finance and diversity scandals. Also taking the gong for Best Director, Steven Spielberg says he's been hiding from this story since he was 17 years old. The Fablemans tells the mostly true tale of his own childhood, an introduction to filmmaking in post-war America. And triumph for Cate Blanchett. She won Best Actress in a drama film for playing an intense composer-conductor in Tar.
The Banshees of Inisherin!
The Irish tragic comedy walked away with the night's most statues, bagging a total of 3 awards, with Best Motion Picture Comedy, Colin Farrell taking out Best Actor in a Comedy, and Best Motion Picture Screenplay.
That wouldn't be a sin now, would it, Father?
No, but it's not very nice either, is it?
A night that further emphasises that the Best Picture Oscar race will be between The Fabelmans and The Banshees of Inisherin.